multitasking. Okay. Make sure that you go to YouTube. You can find Barton Webinars there. All of the webinars that we have done with Dr. Scott are there, and just a great resource for really good information. So mostly concerning type 2 diabetes. Not always. We've done some other fun topics as well. So looks like we have
today we
well,
have a fun topic that
we
isn't
do.
specifically related to type 2 diabetes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it's kind of exciting because it's new. It's something that that is just like this is the forefront of technology. You know, stem cell research, and for many years in the United States, stem cell research was illegal, and there were, because they were using placental cells and fetal cells, and people objected to that. So they weren't doing it, and then they found out, well, you can get stem cells from any tissue in the body. So it's kind of opened up now, where stem cells are available everywhere. Yeah, I initially tell the story when in the stem cell article that I just wrote for Home Cures That Work. I tell the story of someone in my office. She actually worked in my office. Who her kidneys started failing, and they couldn't figure out why her kidneys were failing. And she was an herbalist, so she tried taking herbs of all kinds. She said, I can fix this. And so she tried and her kidneys just were not getting better. They were getting worse. So she decided that the next step, when her kidneys, she didn't want to go on dialysis. So when her kidneys got really bad, she decided that she wanted to use stem cells. And she looked all over for stem cell treatments, and you couldn't get them in the United States. This was a while back. And so she looked at, there was a place in Panama and a place in Europe, and she ended up in the Caribbean. I forgot which island it was on, Barbados, if I remember right. Anyway, it was an island in the Caribbean that she said, she said, this is the place. This is where they really do good research. They do good work. But it was like $20,000 for treatment. And she didn't have that kind of money, and she had to pay it all up front. So she started asking people, for money to get enough to pay for her. She says, my kidneys are failing. I want to do stem cell treatment. This is the place where I'm going, can you give me money? Well, one day in a parking lot, she ran into a very famous person, and who had quite a bit of money, and said, I'll pay for the whole thing. In fact, I'll even pay for your trip over there and back. Done. So it was like, she got sponsors, she got everything, and she went over there and had the stem cell treatment. But it didn't fix her kidneys. And I know in some cases it works really well. I've seen in animals where they can actually repair a heart, but the kinds of stem cells, or the way that we're doing it, doesn't always work for people. And so one of the things that I looked at is, how can we have the best results from stem cells? What are stem cells anyway? That's a good question, right?
I'm back, everyone. Hello. And
hey,
sorry, I was a little late. I had to go find my sombrero, because it is, after all, Cinco de Mayo today. So happy Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo. Yay.
This is an old hat that we had in our dress-up closet with all the dress-up clothes that our boys have gone through over the last 22 years. So.
Ole, you could be a perfect Mexican. You should be singing.
Ole, andale, andale.
But are you aware that it's Taco Tuesday as well on
Wow.
Cinco de Mayo?
Ooh,
but it's interrupted by a virus named after a Mexican beer.
The perfect combination when Cinco de Mayo mixes with Taco Tuesday, and they come together at the same time.
Awesome. See. What is Tuesday in Spanish?
Martes.
Martes. Okay. Taco Martes.
It's not the same.
No. Taco Tuesday has a better ring to it. So, all right. Well, stem cells. This is a new topic. I'm going to take this hat off. It's sort of messes my hair up a little bit, but all right. So, what are like the most common uses of stem cells, and like, yeah, who, like, where did this come from? This idea come from? Why would anyone want to use stem cells in the first place?
Okay, that's a cool question. Stem cells are awesome. You have a cell in your body. In fact, all over your body, you have cells that can become anything. So if you lose an arm, that it could become an arm. You could actually grow it into all of the different tissues of an arm. A cell that can become bone, it can become nerves, it can become skin, it can become muscle, it can become anything. So they started doing research with these cells. Well, what needs to happen for these to start working? And so they used dogs, and they put stem cells from the dog's heart. They took the stem cells out and they injected them into a heart part of the muscle that they damaged. So they put them into the artery so they would go straight into that muscle where the damage was. And what happened over time is that the heart started growing back, and those stem cells became heart muscle. And what's really cool is when the stem cells make new muscle, they do biopsies, and these are not old muscle cells. They don't have any of the characteristics of old cells. They have brand new cells. This is like a 5-year-old, 8-year-old heart in a 50, 60-year-old person. When they regrow new tissue. And it's all young tissue, and it's all viable and good. So the magic of stem cells is regeneration, literal regeneration of tissue.
So you mentioned the story of the lady that needed it for kidneys, but it didn't work for her. Like, what are the conditions for what makes it work or doesn't work?
That's a good question. If you look at the research, most of the time when animals are done, they don't necessarily put it into a peripheral vein. And so when you put something into a peripheral vein, the veins all go back to the heart, and then from the heart they go to the lungs, and then from the lungs it goes to the rest of the body, and then it goes back to the heart, and then it goes to the rest of the body. The stem cells then, in order to get to where they need to go, have to go through the heart, through the lungs, and then all over the body. And where are they going to end up? You never know where they're going to end up. So the idea that we have a specific tissue like the kidneys, and those kidneys need regeneration. And there are stem cells in the kidneys. They're already there. But they need to be activated and start working. And putting stem cells in often activates them. That's why you can use stem cells from some other person, like they were using cord blood stem cells from babies that are just born, and those are brand new stem cells that can regenerate into any tissue. You inject those in, and you can stimulate your own stem cells to start producing or regenerating tissue. In fact, there's been some research done with plant stem cells, and they have a cream in plant stem cells that you can put on your face and regenerate the underlying tissue of your skin to make it look younger, and to actually make it younger. And it's not that you're growing plants inside there. It's something from the stem cells activates your own stem cells to start working. So the idea of injecting something into a peripheral vein in your arm and having it go to where it needs to be in the body, it might work, might not, I don't know. I've seen stem cells injected directly into joints where that has worked, and other times where it doesn't work. I don't know. It's not a simple question.
So you talked about activating your own stem cells. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Okay. So the idea that you're going to inject stem cells from somebody else into your body, or what they did in this clinic in, I think it was Barbados that patient went to, they took stem cells, they took some fat tissue out, they removed the stem cells, and then they injected the stem cells into her vein. And that's the process that goes on. And ideally, in between there, they activate the stem cells, and there are certain things that have been shown to activate stem cells. So your question is, how do you activate your own stem cells to just start working? You know, it may have been more effective if they had injected those stem cells directly into the artery going to the kidney. And that way, they would have gone directly into the kidney and activated the stem cells there, and that may have started working. So that's one possibility, because the research on animals is often done that way. The way you activate your own stem cells is by pushing. It's hormones. It's actually a combination of things. You want your body to become anabolic. So Joe, remember we talked about the 6-10 reset?
I do. Yep.
Yeah. What is that?
6-10 reset is having an empty stomach and going to sleep by 10 p.m.
Yeah.
And
So you're done eating done eating by 6, you go to sleep by 10. So what that does is you have a spike in human growth hormone, and that human growth hormone activates stem cells. So you start regenerating tissue that's broken down. And you get just a 10-minute spike. It's not like you have this high level of human growth hormone. And that's not helpful either, to have high level of human growth hormone. So that activates stem cells. So I'm wondering, I haven't seen any research on this, but if you use something like the 6-10 reset and you have this circadian rhythm and you inject the stem cells at the right time, like maybe right before you go to bed or something like that, into the tissue that needs to be repaired, I wonder if you get a lot better results.
Yeah. Interesting. This is a fascinating topic for sure. How long now have people been doing the stem cell injections? Has that been around for quite a while?
Yeah, it's actually more than 10 years. It's increasing quite rapidly in the world, all over the world. They're using more stem cells because of the possibility of, regeneration. Of you don't have to get old, that you can fix things.
Yeah.
And one of the ways we do it to regenerate our own is that 6-10 reset. If you have a good circadian rhythm, every day you're breaking down and getting old, and every night you're regenerating and repairing. You make the human growth hormone, the ghrelin from your stomach, all the testosterone, all of those anabolic hormones that repair and improve and grow things, help to stimulate stem cells. In fact, there's plenty of evidence that fasting stimulates stem cells, and by fasting only 24 hours, you can stimulate the stem cells in your intestines to start working and repair your intestines, repair your stomach and intestines, and large intestine, small intestine. So that's one way.
Yeah, interesting. So let's see. Leslie, looks like we have a couple of questions that have come in. If you want to read those for Dr. Saunders.
You bet. Okay, so Krish, welcome back, Krish. We're excited to have you. We know this was a topic you were very interested in. So let's see. She says, I'm sorry, not she. I don't know if it's she or he. I believe he. Are the adult repair stem cells panacea? Will they be helpful in rebuilding the optic nerve? The question relates to those subjects who have glaucoma and lost their vision in one or both eyes. Thanks. There are a couple other questions too, but we'll start there.
Okay. So as to whether it can repair nerves, the truth is it can repair anything in the body. So as far as repair goes, meaning fixing, make it anatomically perfect or anatomically correct. And so when your anatomy is right, then the functionality should return. But there may be a difference between functional and anatomical. So if you repair the nerve, does that bring back the function of the nerve? In the case of like an optic nerve, it's possible. It's possible, but this is all young research. We don't actually know how far that goes, and whether if we can fix the anatomy. In fact, with nerve cells specifically, does that mean that you automatically get the function back? You know, if you lose the memory, if you have a stroke and your right side is messed up, and then you inject stem cells and regrow your brain just anatomically perfect, do you get back all your memories? Do you get back all the function that used to be there? Or do you have to start from scratch and do learn how to walk and learn how to do everything and regain memories and regain function? That's still a topic of discussion, and it's possible, but we don't know.
Wow. Okay. Are there any side effects to the facial cream that you were discussing?
No, not well. You could get a rash from it. You can react to anything, you know, people do. But it's really just they take stem cells out of plants. All plants have stem cells. All plants, you can. There are a lot of plants you can take a stem cell out of a plant and put it in the ground, and it'll grow a new plant. You know, exactly the same as the other one. They have them all over the place. And if you extract just the stem cells and leave all the other parts, all the fiber and everything, and somehow those activate, or looks like they activate your own stem cells. There's just something about stem cells that activate stem cells, whether they're plant or animal. It's kind of funny.
Okay, this is very interesting. Let's see, Grace, you had a question last week on Facebook. Can you resend it to me? Because I just looked and I'm not finding it. So if you're able to resend that, that would be wonderful. Those of you watching on Facebook, feel free to post your questions there. We're going to try to get to as many of those as we can live. And those of you who are watching, who are registered for this webinar, bartonwebinar.com, if you have not been there yet, you can register for this free weekly webinar. And you can post your questions live on Zoom. That is where we are going live from. Let's see, we have another question here. I'm a diabetic and I take I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly. Pravastatin, 20 milligrams, and Sandoz Candasortin, 8 milligrams. Is this a drug I might be able to get off of in the future? And is this a safe drug?
Okay, so question one is, can you get off pravastatin? And what was the other one? How does it?
Let's see. And Sandoz Candasortin.
Candasortin. Okay. That so that is a blood pressure medication. So you have a blood pressure medication and a cholesterol medication. And yes, of course you can get off of those. Think about it this way: those medications are for symptoms. They're to relieve symptoms. If you don't have the symptoms anymore, you don't need relief of symptoms, and they'll just be unnecessary. So when you reverse the process or the underlying reason why those symptoms happen, then those medications become useless. You don't need them anymore. That's the whole idea. So the idea about diabetes reversal is you're no longer diabetic. You no longer have high cholesterol. You no longer have high blood pressure. All of those markers, all of those symptoms are all down to normal, are all in the normal range. So there's no reason to have a medication to bring them down less than normal. No, you want the optimal, and there's no better than optimal.
Joe, do you have one of our Diabetes Solution Kit books in front of you? Be a good time to show that as well.
I certainly do. It's right here, the Diabetes Solution Kit, which you can find a link to on bartonwebinar.com. And yeah, here it is. This is the workbook, the printed copy.
So there's great information there for those of you who maybe are not familiar with this, or you're joining for the first time. A lot of information. Dr. Saunders has spent a lot of time creating this program. So find more information at bartonwebinar.com. I'm talking and typing at the same time here. So those of you,
I've got a question about stem cells again, Scott. If you could talk about like embryonic stem cells, and like that's kind of controversial. Like we want to. There's a lot of people that are pro-life and don't want to even think about like aborted fetuses, for example. That's a hot topic. So what's the latest with that, and how often are those used, if at all, and what should we know about that?
Well, because stem cells are multipotent or totipotent, which means they can become any tissue in the body. And they're technically immortal, which means they could live forever as long as they have a place to live. Then the idea of using embryonic stem cells is declining in favor, because the adult stem cells work just as well. And ideally, you want your own stem cells. So when they did the research on the damaged hearts for dogs, for example, they took the stem cells that were already there in the hearts of the dogs and activated them outside of the body, and then put them back into the heart, into the artery of the heart that goes into where the damage was done. And then they initiated the repair. And they repaired like young tissue. And that's where some of the issues come in with stem cells. And that is, if you're using somebody else's stem cells, like from an embryo, you're taking some fetus that was aborted and taking the stem cells out and putting it into somebody else's body. Well, there's graft versus host disease. You might have a problem with those stem cells not working well for the body. So the host then can get rid of those and go, oh, those are foreign cells, we just get rid of those. Or the other way around, if they're in an immune function, for example. So that kind of thing, because that's all new, we don't know much about that. But it seems like the adult stem cells are working pretty well, and they've been working for animals pretty well. So the idea of taking embryonic stem cells is becoming there's less favorable, put it that way.
So in your practice, do you ever recommend that, or is that something that you get people will ask about it because they've heard about it elsewhere, and you'll give them guidance on it, or do you recommend other therapies for people?
So if somebody has tissue that's broken down, like let's take a person that has a knee, and they've been told that they're going to need a joint replacement. They're going to have to cut that joint out and put the plastic and metal joint in and repair that knee. Okay, and that works, and they're just amazing that could be done. But what if you could repair your natural knee and make it like normal? So in that kind of a case, I have sent people to local doctors who do stem cells and had injections done to repair the tissue specifically. So what I do is I prep them first. And I say there are certain things that you need to do in order to make this work well. So first of all, you have to exercise. Exercise induces stem cells, and not just induces, but activates stem cells. Sleep, getting the right amount of sleep is really important too. So we do that 6-10 reset. They really need to be in bed by 10 with an empty stomach so that they're making the proper anabolic hormones so they can get anabolic every night. Otherwise, if you're catabolic, if you're all stressed out, and you have a full stomach when you go to bed, and you don't have any ghrelin, you don't have any human growth hormone, then you can inject stem cells, and who knows if they're going to do anything. I don't know. And in my experience, most often they don't do anything. And then I add in fasting. So they do periodic fasting, and ideally 2 days before and 1 day after they get a stem cell injection. That's how to stimulate those stem cells. And then supplements. There are certain supplements that improve stem cells. Bioflavonoids are really important. That's in fruit and vegetables. Green tea is something that boosts stem cells. Carnosine is not carnitine. Carnosine is an amino acid. It's actually 2 amino acids together that decreases inflammation and activates stem cells. So carnosine is often used to activate stem cells. When you get, like someone asked about eyes, like glaucoma, something that you can fix glaucoma, and cataracts. You can reverse cataracts. Carnosine will often do that, just eye drops. It's called Can-C eye drops, and they're available over the counter, and they're great. They really improve the eyes. So that's another thing that they can use. And also vitamin D. The optimal amount is between 5 and 10,000 units a day. Vitamin D is very important for being able to use stem cells. So that's what I do. Is yes, I do recommend people try stem cell therapy. And I tell them, in order to get the greatest benefit out of it, those are the things that you do.
Very good, good, good. Okay, let's see. I think we had a couple other questions, right, Leslie? If you want to go back to asking what's come in.
Yes, and also I'm going to read this. This is from Grace, and I did see this last week. She said, I recently was declined a refill of my prescription of lisinopril for blood pressure medication. This was either because, one, my doctor wasn't in the office because of COVID-19, or two, she thought the medicine might have some interference with COVID-19 because of ACE inhibitors. Either way, I was glad to not have it refilled because of your earlier talk about blood pressure medications, and have actually stopped taking even what I have. As a result, my leg cramps at night have decreased greatly, and I am happy. So kind of fun testimony to share. We love hearing stories like that, so keep sending them our way, you guys. We have some other questions as well. Let's see. Hello, Brahm. He is on here. Let's see. Can stem cells help to repair damaged cells from chemo?
Oh, that's a great question. And the answer of can it is always going to be yes. Can stem cells do this? Yes. They're like, they call them totipotent or pluripotent, which means that they can become any other kind of cell. So if the cells are damaged from chemotherapy, which are usually the fast-growing cells, like in the in the intestines, you have the lining of the intestines are very fast-growing cells. So it's common during chemotherapy to get nausea, vomiting, stomach cramps problems because of damage to the lining of the stomach and intestines. Also, skin cells and other cells in the body that are rapidly reproducing may be damaged. And it's been shown that only 1 day of fasting will activate the stem cells in the intestines to start repairing the leaky gut and start repairing the damaged cells there. So yes, absolutely. In fact, one of the researchers that's in longevity, his name is Walter Longo at USC, Longevity Research Institute, and he has shown that even during chemotherapy, 2 days before and 1 day after, fasting during that time will prevent damage to the normal cells, activate the stem cells, and prevent people from losing their hair. They won't lose their hair. They don't get sick. They don't even know they had chemotherapy, and the chemotherapy works 3 times better. So, you know, this self-activation of stem cells, that's one way you can do that.
All right, awesome. Okay, let's see. Here's our next question. I am Brahm. I am a type 2 diabetic. I fast every Wednesday for 24 hours. And when I check my fasting blood sugar, it is always higher than the previous day where I ate normally. My fasting involves water intake only. My numbers jump up from 6.5 to 7.2 or higher. Why is this so, and what do you advise?
Okay, when you have when you're fasting for 1 day and you have diabetes, one of the issues is that you make glucagon. Glucagon causes gluconeogenesis, and what that means is that it's taking your proteins out of your blood, whatever the proteins in your liver, and making them into sugar. Glutamine is actually made into sugar. So your sugar can go up for a period of time. And the reason that happens is you have insulin resistance. So you can't use fat for energy. The insulin blocks you from using fat. So people who say, I'm just gaining weight and I try fasting and nothing works and my blood sugar goes up, because if you can't use fat, you have to use proteins for sugar. And so when the insulin resistance causes you to have high insulin and block you from using fat for energy, then your liver starts this gluconeogenesis and your blood sugar can actually go up. I had somebody who did that. And the only way to do that is to have more of a period of time. So one day wouldn't be enough. You have to have enough time to get your insulin down to 0, which is 3 days.
Okay. I remember when I was doing a fast and every day I'd call Dr. Saunders and say, can I be done now? Can I be done now? And he'd say no, and I was just so mad. And it worked well. I'm glad I listened to his advice, but I feel your pain having to go more than 1 day. So, okay.
You can do it. You can do it.
Yes, you can. And you'll be so glad that you did. How do stem cells know what is damaged and what? Okay, hold on here. Let me see. How do stem cells know what is damaged and what if there are several locations that need fixing?
That is a great question. There are a lot of theories behind that. And there's always several locations that need fixing. And so that's what I was saying about if you can inject those stem cells into the artery of the tissue that you want to fix, then it will go straight into that tissue and fix that area. Well, how does it know what to fix? Well, there's damage there. There's something that's non-functional. It's not working right. There's cells that are not functioning properly. There's cells that aren't supposed to be there, like fibroblasts that make scar tissue, and there's scar tissue there. And so where that tissue is not fully functional, the stem cells go in and they will get in beside a normal cell and then make it become like the normal cell and reproduce and then replace the scar tissue that would be there. And that has actually been shown in damaged hearts of dogs, the ones I was talking about, where they show that the scar tissue over time, over a period of about a year, shrunk down and became less and less scar tissue and more normal muscle cells. So how does it know? Well, that's the question of how does it know in the first place? How does that embryo know to make nerve tissue here and muscle tissue there and skin tissue there? How does it know? That's still a mystery that we don't really know, and that depth of how. But all we do know is that the stem cell can become like the normal cells, using the normal cells as a pattern, so to speak, to become like them.
It's very amazing. Let's see. Here's another question from Krish. When the repair cells are part of everyone's body, those who have raised sensitivity to use of the stem cells, they may not be objecting to use of the repair stem cells in research and therapeutics, correct? This is a big issue. I may need to reread that. When advanced repair stem cells are a part of everybody's body, those who have raised sensitivity to the use of the stem cells may not be objecting to use them in research and therapeutics. Does that make sense to you?
Okay, so advanced stem cells, I suppose that would be like adult stem cells, taking the stem cells out of your body. And then would you object to using those kind of stem cells if you normally have them or naturally have them in your body? Yeah, I don't suspect anybody would object to using your own cells, taking them out, activating them, putting them back into your own body. I don't think there's an issue with that. I don't think anybody would have an ethical or moral issue with that.
Okay, Henry has a question here. My blood sugar levels are always 8.6 and 7.6 in the morning. How can you advise me?
Okay. The part of that could be, there's a couple of things that could happen. One is that if your blood sugar gets too low at night, then you induce glucagon, which causes gluconeogenesis, and you start making sugar so that your blood sugar in the morning could be higher than it would normally be. It could be just because you get too low at night. And most people who have that, they know it because they wake up and they go, I woke up and I can't get back to sleep. And I'm really agitated and my heart's beating hard or something like that. So if not, then your blood sugar is just staying up too high over a long period of time. So it would be good to know in that case what your insulin levels are. So if you check the sugar and the insulin, and the insulin is over 5, well, over 5 is optimal, but if it's over 10, then you can know that there's a problem is insulin resistance. And getting the insulin resistance down is phase 1 of the diabetes solution kit. So reversing that part is by avoiding carbohydrates and eating smaller amounts and stop eating by 6 o'clock at night. All of those things will help to have a more normal blood sugar in the morning.
I think one of the big takeaways on today's call is just like the stem cells themselves are such an amazing, part of the body and part of regenerating cells and creating new tissue and stuff like that. Like, so to me, that's like an extra motivation to do the 6-10 reset, to do fasting, intermittent fasting, to lower your carbs, to go to sleep by 10 o'clock. Like, it's kind of cool to think about, like, if you do all that stuff, like you're actually repairing your body and these stem cells are going to work for you while you're sleeping. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's really the amazing thing, is that you already have them. You don't need to take somebody else's stem cells and inject them into your body. You have them.
Yeah. And that's probably the best and safest and cheapest way to do it, for sure.
Oh yeah. Safest, cheapest. Yeah. All those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very cool. Is there any, have you seen anything with stem cells and type 1 diabetes and like the pancreas restoring pancreatic function, or is that doesn't it work that way?
I don't know. It might work. Theoretically it can work if the islets, they're called the islets of Langerhans, if those islet cells are damaged in some way, then at least theoretically injecting stem cells into the pancreas could regenerate those islets. What's really interesting in type 1 diabetes is that often the islet cells are just fine. They just aren't working. They're there. They just aren't working. Some people have autoimmune disease to where the antibodies have attacked those cells, and so they can't make insulin anymore. And some people have a nervous system disorder. In fact, there was one study in rats where they blocked the vagus nerve so that they disconnected the brain from the pancreas, and the pancreas just started working. And these are type 1 diabetics that make no insulin at all. And by blocking the nerve from the brain, they just started functioning again. So I think it may be a biopsy or a study to look at, does this person lack those islet cells, or are they damaged, and do they need stem cells? I think more research needs to be done there. I don't know of any specifically.
So digging into that 6-10 reset and HGH production, like after 10 p.m., like does that happen at any other time of the day? Like if you take a nap at a certain time of day, does that happen, or is it only like once a day for the 10-minute period?
So the rule is once a day for the 10-minute period. So when research is done on circadian rhythm, those first before midnight hours of sleep are the ones where you get deep sleep. And it's kind of interesting, if you've ever seen a sleep study, you have, you're awake at this level, and then you almost immediately go into deep sleep. That's stage 3, stage 4, deep sleep. And then it kind of goes on a pattern like that for a few hours, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 hours or so. And then you kind of wake up briefly and then go into slow wave sleep, stage 1, stage 2, or REM sleep. But it's only during those first times of deep sleep that you get that release of the human growth hormone. You can sleep any other time during the day. You can take naps and everything, but as a rule, you're not going to get deep sleep, and you're not going to get a release of the human growth hormone. That really happens in the beginning of the night.
Kind of funny, Cedric, one of my sons, they've been working out like almost every day, like 5 days a week, pretty regularly since the beginning of April, with the quarantine and stuff going on. And May 1st, he's like, Dad, we did a good job in April, so I think May we're going to try to live a perfectly healthy month of May here. So what do you recommend? And so I wrote down like 10 different things. And the first one was go to sleep by 10 o'clock on an empty stomach. and he read my list. He comes back later. He's like, Dad, I think we're going to start in June. He's like, well, because he's working overnights right now at Target doing like grocery shopping and stuff like that. So his job through this month anyway is kind of screwed up his sleep patterns quite a bit. But yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. So another thing I wanted to talk about quick, timely. So there was a study that just came out, and we sent an email about this yesterday. I don't know if you saw it or not, but selenium, there was a strong correlation of selenium and the recovery rate for people with COVID-19. And so it was like, there was certain places in China that they studied. The place with the highest levels of selenium in the soil and in their diet had the greatest recovery rate, and the place in China with the lowest amount of selenium and lowest selenium in their diet had the worst recovery rate for COVID. And so I just wanted to say kudos to you for including that in our Synachroma product. And we've talked about the different ingredients in this and how it helps with your immune system and different things, but this is brand new research coming out for COVID-19, how selenium seems to be very strongly correlated to recovery from that. So did you see that yet?
Yeah. Actually, it's really interesting. And the theory is that selenium is required for regenerating glutathione. Glutathione is one of the primary antioxidants in your body, in the mitochondria. And one of the problems, what the virus does is create this inflammation, and glutathione can stop that in the lungs specifically. So high levels of glutathione in the lungs would allow you to not have this overreaction of inflammatory mediators in the lungs, which is what really people are filling up their lungs with fluid, which is why everybody they put on ventilators, 80% are dying. And it's often because of the ventilators, not specifically because of the illness. And it's damage to the lungs because the lungs are full of fluid. And that's been recognized by several doctors who have been doing this. Anyway, so the selenium allows more glutathione in the body to be regenerated.
Okay. Yeah. And if you didn't see my email yesterday, it's called Selenium and COVID-19 in the subject line. And we've got a sale going on Synachroma. If you're running short, we have a special, you can buy 4 and get 3 free. So, yep, Leslie's got hers there as well. All right. So, yeah, check that out. This has 364% of the recommended daily value of selenium in it. So, and then it's got vitamin D3, vitamin K2, chromium, cinnamon bark, and vanadium. So, good stuff there. Let's see. Krish had a follow-up question back to stem cells. So how do we avail this therapy with adult stem cells? Through our primary care physician, who in turn refers to a specialist. So I'm assuming if you want to do this the external route or whatever, how do you do that?
Good question. And part of the reason that's a good question is because There are all kinds of people doing stem cells. There are people injecting stem cells. There was a group that came into Santa Barbara, and they said, they asked me if I would help them with their stem cell project. And I looked into it. It was a great money-making venture, but I didn't think they had the background to be able to do it well. So just taking stem cells and injecting them into somebody's vein is not necessarily therapy, and it's not a full treatment. So I think being really careful of who you choose, someone that has experience with it, and then having people who've had the stem cell therapies. Okay, what did you do? How did you do it? What were the results? Because if you're not seeing results, then you're probably not injecting it right. You're either not using the right cells, you're not stimulating them properly, they're not activated, or maybe they're not preparing the body very well. You know, you got to prepare your own body to accept those stem cells and use them to repair the tissue that need to be repaired. So for all those reasons, number one, experience is everything in medicine. If you look for a surgeon, an eye surgeon to fix your eye, you want the one that does it every day. You don't want the guy that does it a couple times a year. What experience is everything in health. And so number one, look for someone who's had years of experience. Number two, look for what their experience is, what the results are. Okay, show me the results. Everybody that you've ever injected stem cells, what are their outcomes? And if they don't have that, go, okay, bye, find somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Gary asked a question. There's a company called LifeWave in Southern California. It has a product called X39, which is a patch that you wear. Claims to elevate the peptide GHK-Cu that activates the body's stem cells. Do you know anything about them and their research?
I do know something about the research. I have a patient who's using it. He says very successfully. He's shown me these little buttons that you wear, stickers. I don't know how it works. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if it increases the GH7 stuff. I really don't know. But, there's people who have used just about anything and have found use in it. So again, if you looked at something like that and you did an evaluation of it and say, okay, overall, if you had, out of 1,000 people who use it, what are the results? So, people saying they feel better, that's okay. But if you can document, yeah, I regrew my knee joint. My knee joint was like bone on bone, and now I've got cartilage in it. Okay, great. There you have something real.
Yeah. Claire had a question. What if the doctor doesn't know that a particular location is damaged? Are the stem cells smarter than doctors? Smiley face.
Absolutely. The stem cells are smarter than doctors. So if, for example, if you have damaged knees that don't show up on x-rays, if you have damage to whatever that doesn't show up on a scan or something like that, the stem cells still know that that's damaged. And that's where the big advantage of this, the 610 reset, is every single night, you get into anabolic mode. If you go to bed with an empty stomach, by 10 o'clock, you make that human growth hormone, you make the Ghrelin first, that's the empty stomach, and then you make the human growth hormone. And the anabolic phase, wherever the damage was done, is being repaired at the microscopic level, at the cellular level. Something that you're never going to see. So yeah, we can only see gross damage, whereas the stem cells know microscopic damage.
All right, more rapid fire questions coming in here. So Johanna, instead of 610, can you do 812, which fits better to my schedule?
Everybody asks me that. The answer is probably not. It's the before midnight hours of sleep that are the most important. So going to bed at 9 is better than going to bed at 10, is going to bed at 11, is better than going to bed at midnight. Yes, in fact, where research is done on the circadian rhythm for people that have shift work, they work in a factory, or they've done studies on nurses and police officers, and they have found that when they're on the swing shift or the night shift, they don't get anabolic. They just miss that day of rebuilding.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Grace said she has the hardest time getting to deep sleep between 10 and 2. I wake up several times. Any tips on how to get to that deep sleep? What might be causing somebody to wake up like that?
Okay. Excellent question. Thank you for asking that. Look up a sleep study, or look up online. Go to Google and type in sleep study, and then look at images, and you'll see this pattern of you're awake, and then you immediately go into deep sleep for 20 minutes or half an hour or an hour, and then you wake up, and then for like seconds or a minute or two, and then you go back to sleep again into deep sleep. And that pattern of waking up, going to sleep, waking up, going to sleep, that is a normal pattern. That is not abnormal at all. The fact is, we all wake up several times, 5, 6, 7 times during the night, but we don't remember it. You know, you kind of wake up and roll over and you go immediately back to sleep and you don't remember it. But some people, when they wake up, they go boing, and then they're awake. You know what? Don't worry about it. Just go back to sleep. It's okay. It's perfectly normal.
Good. All right. Let's see here. If one was to take the selenium directly, in what form do you recommend?
Okay, good question. So there's no bad question. Selenium comes when you get it from food. Plants do not need selenium. So when you get it from food, the plants have it in there just because it was in the soil. So it comes up in the with the water that they bring up in their roots, and there's selenium there, and they just bind it to methionine. So it's called selenomethionine, and that's the form that it's in most plants. And so when you buy selenium and you get it in the form of selenomethionine, that's easily absorbed, but you can actually take it in just about any form, and it works pretty well. Yeah, you may absorb less of a mineral form than you do of a chelated form, but it's fine. If it's a lot more money to buy the selenomethionine, then the selenium sulfate is fine, or whatever form it comes in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to be wrapping up here in just a minute. Getting about to that time. So let me see. Oh, good question here. So Renee wants to know if how can she have a private consultation with you, Dr. Saunders? And does insurance cover it? United Healthcare Oxford. And how do I make an appointment? So, yeah.
Okay. So I do have insurance. I do take insurance. The most panels, United Healthcare would be one of them. And so just call my office staff and set up an appointment. We usually do it on either FaceTime or Skype or whatever works for you. I've done phone consultations. And the office number is 805-688-7171. And that number will get you the office staff. They'll set you up, get the appointment and everything, and then we can go from there.
Excellent. And one last thing, I totally forgot to mention this, but Cheryl, thank you for reminding me. And maybe we did mention it, but the Home Cures That Work edition for May actually talks about stem cells, and there's an article And Leslie, if you wanted to post that into the Zoom chat, people that are watching it live, and they could get that. So yeah, he's got, like kind of a recap of what we talked about already today, with a lot of these more information about stem cells and how to activate your own stem cells. Just a real quick recap. So exercise, sleep, fasting, living food. I don't know if we talked too much about that, but eating living food, and then supplements of different things like bioflavonoids, green tea, carnosine, vitamin D, and reducing stress. So those are all covered in the article that he wrote. So if you go to homecuresthatwork.com, you'll find that article. And that is an excellent source of information on all sorts of other topics that Dr. Saunders has been writing for us since 2009, like 11 years now. And so there's hundreds of articles in there, and highly recommend that you check that out. You can become a member inside there. Also, if you buy like a diabetes solution kit from us, you can get a special on how to become a member at a much cheaper rate. So anyways, we'd love to have you guys check that out. And again, bartonwebinar.com is the website we use for all of our products and how to register for this webinar. If you haven't registered yet, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook later, go to bartonwebinar.com. And yeah, I think also wanted to mention next week, we're going to have a special guest. My friend Jim Riefenberger I'm going to go over to his home gym next Tuesday. And we're going to do a little bit of show you some exercises that you can do from home, and also talk about just some, like he's a life coach and a coach that helps people that have had health challenges in the past. So he's going to share some things from a little different perspective next Tuesday. So that'll be a fun webinar for us as well. And Dr. Saunders, you're welcome to, of course, be with us and help answer the questions that come in from people. But we'll be coming in live from somebody's home gym. So have your sneakers on next week. We might have you do a few jumping jacks or something and show you some helpful exercises that will help with reversing type 2 diabetes and overall general wellness. So I think that's it for today. Great call. Lots of topics covered. We talked about stem cells. We talked about fasting, the 610 reset. Join our Facebook page, the 610 reset. We have a whole page set up just for that. And we love to see new people join in there and encourage each other and share results and ask questions and all that good stuff. So any closing comments, Dr. Saunders?
Well, as far as stem cells go?
Yeah, sure.
You know what? Stem cells, there was one thing I didn't say, and that is stem cells keep you young. And we have them. We all have them. And the fountain of youth is using your stem cells properly. So if you repair every night, and that's what that 610 reset we talked about is, repair every night all of the damage that's done, then you're not going to have problems with needing knee replacements and shoulder repairs and hip replacements and all of this other stuff that people have. Because you'll be repairing microscopic level every single night.
Excellent. Yep, for sure. So, all right. Well, hey, you guys do your best to try to go to bed on an empty stomach at 10 o'clock and come and share the results with everybody else. We love to hear your success stories, and we're here for you guys. And this is a community that's growing, and it's, the more that we can share, the more we know, the better. So keep coming with your questions. We'll be back next week, Tuesday at noon Central. All right. Thanks, everybody. God bless. Thanks, Dr. Saunders. Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.